Whoa. We're already on air. That was a great start by you. Oh,
That's nice.
Hi, everybody.
consider
Hello, and good evening.
consider this our new glory screamo. How is it called? Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi. So we're here today to question some questions and have some answers. My name is Liz. I'm your community manager. Here with me, Mordheim, also community manager, and Tchainen,
Hi.
our narrative designer of all cat games.
Yep.
And we're today to talk. We're here today to talk about Alpha and Baker Portal. So you may already spam your questions in chat. As you may see, we have chat on screen now. But why won't we start with some frames from the game itself? Because we have a B-roll, a nice video with the game footage, and we know not all of you have seen it, especially those who don't have alpha access. So let's watch it. Guys are silent, so I just turn it on.
Yeah, let's watch
I
it.
thought you, I thought you
Well-
asked something.
No,
Well,
I
we
just
decided to
I
cut the
I,
roll,
al-
so-
I already see some questions.
Well, yeah, there is one important question for Manhattan 3, where I get that fabulous hat.
Oh, I got it. I got it several years ago at the Voronezh Festival. It's the biggest anime festival in Russia. Unfortunately, this year it had to be put online, but
Was
it
it-
wasn't cancelled. It
was it-
happened online, so
It was a grand festival this year online.
yeah.
So
No new hats from it, unfortunately.
oh. Okay, let's
There are actually a lot of questions. We can wait a bit with the roll. So
okay,
there's
that's fine with me.
one we can answer right now. Foxley asked how long will the alpha last, and will there be more alphas? Still a good idea to get into it. It will last for around 2 weeks. Maybe it will be available even after the end, but it won't get any update, and we won't help that much with issues you face. There will be a beta, obviously. It is beta access is included in one of the tiers, and there are no information about our alphas because there's next is beta, and we don't have at the moment we don't have any plans to launch any other tests between them.
Alphas between alphas.
Between alpha and beta.
Ramara Crow, unfortunately, no anti-paladins. They're cool,
Yep.
but they just didn't make it. But there are what a name. There are war priests, and you can very much be a war priest of an evil deity.
Also, I want a bit.
Come on, anti-paladins suck anyway.
I want to introduce
snap!
I a bit because our first guest, Saint High Krimov, wrote several of the companions, some location quests, obviously, and one of the companions he wrote is Amber. Can you remind what you also wrote?
A lot of stuff. You know, after working on it for a while, it kind of all melts together, and I certainly did write stuff. I certainly did write stuff I'm allowed to talk about here. Why don't you ask questions?
If I recall correctly, you also wrote Staunton, Anevia.
Oh yeah.
Zosiel is yours also, if I recall correctly, right?
Who?
Zosiel, I think.
Yeah, Zosel, yeah.
Also Lost Chapel, Greg Harrison, Menago is yours, and I think one or two of the mythics, Trickster and Dragon, maybe. I'm not sure actually.
No. It's Trickster. For now, it's just Trickster.
So there is a question about species of diners, but you could ask our second guest maybe about it.
Well, come on. I guess it's too early now. We've
Yeah.
just hit the stretch goal not so long ago. So.
Galagraphia. I'm going to write a romance, but we haven't started with them yet.
There's
I
also
will be writing. Oh yeah. I will be writing romance at least for Arushalai, and well, I think I can disclose it for now.
I would ask people to hold on with their mechanical questions because our second guest will be one of our game designers. You can know him from Discord, Leonid in Ankit
And when
And
he
you could
appears,
ask
you
him-
can blame him.
and you could ask him all the mechanical questions later. If you have any questions about lore, about writing, you can ask them right now. So, Statagemini asks a really bad question in the chat. I'm not sure that we will want to ask them.
Strategy Gemini keeps trolling.
Yep.
Nice trolling.
Should I ban him?
You know the answer.
Should I ban him?
Oh no, please don't.
That won't help us really. So, okay, Jekyll 201 asks, can we spare Staunton in full game? Can we answer that? Is there such an option?
Not as such. Not as such. You see, Staunton is pretty far gone, and in the you see, in the base story as it goes, no, but there is also some really weird mythical stuff that can let you do it, kind of, in several ways. You see, I like to say it this way, our game is the base story, and then there are mythics, and every mythic path is a way to derail the game, to completely put it on its head. And one of the things that it allows you to do, yes, is to even save Staunton, but it won't be easy.
Okay, there's one.
For starters, because when you get these abilities, he'll be already dead. But you can undo even that.
That's a spoiler, actually. That's a huge spoiler.
Let's
Also,
not forget.
Yeah, RPG Codex asked about fundraiser, and that there's the issue. Yes, we're working on it, and
Let's not also. Excuse me.
Also, yeah, mechanics questions a bit later.
Please
because
don't answer all questions by yourself. I wanted to draw attention that we also have YouTube here, and let's not forget that.
I actually don't see YouTube now.
And I do see. So let's answer them all also from time to time. Heavily Augmented asks, is it possible if you guys can release some new portraits art from the Kickstarter footage, or will we have to wait until release? I may say that we possibly will release some new artworks with new updates, but it'll be in future, and we don't know yet which ones. You will definitely see some new companions, I guess, with updates about companions, some stuff like that. Yes.
Maybe.
Legit Waffles ask some legit questions. Will there be unhinged characters? Well, do we have hinged characters? Zosil, maybe, that's all.
There's also a question from Pomegranate Fan. Will future patches of the alpha show the beginning of the game, or is it coming later? No, that's the whole alpha right at the moment. There won't be any additional content to it. We might patch a thing or two. additionally, so it will be played better, but nothing else.
I saw a
Okay.
question for not a question, but someone asks Mordheim to talk a little bit slower, just a little bit slower.
I will try.
So there's a question from Lanferit, and I'm not sure what the answer is. Are we going to add anything to chapters 1 and 2, or are they going to be just like they are?
It's a
I'm
good
really
question.
not sure about that.
As far as I know, they're quite well polished by now.
Yeah, they're not entirely finished, as I
But-
recall correctly, because second chapter will have some content, but I don't know what and how much. So unfortunately, we can't answer that at the moment. Really sorry about that. There's important question from TB Change. Does Woljif know I love him?
Well, we'll tell him, and we'll tell his mother.
Dargil asks, are we gonna see the Archmage Prestige class? I can't recall. I think there were no plans for this Prestige class, but you can ask Inanki when he comes. He might know better. Legit Waffle again asks legit question. Has coronavirus impacted your deadlines in certain aspects?
That's great questions, by the way. No.
We
Well,
were
when
surprised.
we were going to the quarantine, we did think that it would impact stuff, but surprisingly, no. We're just
Yeah,
as productive.
we try to do our best to hold to deadlines. There was another question about the time of the game from Slashy Boy. Will the game be shorter time-wise than Kingmaker? Do we have such information?
Yes, it will be shorter. You see, in Kingmaker, you had that huge string of sandboxes, and you could spend a ton of time on one playthrough. On the other hand, Wrath is way more branching, and one playthrough will take a lot less than one Kingmaker playthrough, but you will see, by its nature, you will see a smaller part of the content. So there's going to be, I think, to see all the content and play all the ways, you will have to still invest hundreds of hours, but one playthrough will be much shorter. If you want to
Well, you
go
know,
through with one Mythic path.
we ended with much longer playthrough than in Kingmaker that we initially intended to, right?
Yep. Also, Rubel asks, will turn-based mode make it into the one of the alpha updates? No, it won't.
Oh, it won't?
Yeah, it's in works, if I recall. It will take some time to polish it. Jackal201 again asks interesting question. Does the timeline for Water take place after events of Kingmaker?
Certainly, yes.
There was, yeah, some time between them.
Yep.
I'd like to elaborate on this one. For those who don't know, the original adventure paths, they overlap in the original tabletop game, and it gives us some problems because we wanted to have some faint connection between the two. There are certain characters from Kingmaker who show up in Wrath, and it would be, well, hard to do to have them be in two places at the same time. So Paizo allowed us to move it into the future a bit. So now Wrath takes place firmly after Kingmaker.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was another interesting question. I think I missed it.
Heinen,
Profile.
will we
Yeah,
get any more options to utilize tentacles in Trickster Path?
Actually,
Let me
yes.
think.
Will there be any tentacles?
Tentacles. Tentacles.
And dragons. Oh, I know there will be dragons.
And dinos. Dinos. You forget about dinos.
Dinos are
Dinos, yeah.
almost dragons.
Also, there was a question about Gloomfall asked, will you ever add Goblin as an official playable character race? I think we don't have such plans. It's like they are small evil creatures in Pathfinder. Though they might be fun, and you can play them in Pathfinder 2nd edition and Starfinder. They're actually pretty awesome. I played with one.
There was a
They
question.
don't really have to be evil.
True.
But
Yeah,
the
they
thing is, goblins as they are, goblins the way they exist in Pathfinder First Edition are kind of a parody race. They're like a caricature on themselves, and well, it's hard to make a game where you play as the comic relief.
Yeah, and it's hard to make it epic and serious. And
Yeah.
there was.
It would take to completely change the goblins from what they are.
There was
into
actually
something serious.
a question about Minaga from Jan Farid. Isn't Minaga stuff too cheesy? I mean, villain explaining the evil plan and failing to kill you thrice afterwards.
Well, the short answer is yes.
There was a question from, I guess, Lindsay and Octavia lover, maybe. Will there be more companions, bards or sorcerers? We are trying some completely different classes, aren't we? Or will it be something interesting?
Which companion?
Bard or sorcerer?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you always have Lindsay and Octavia, though.
There was a question about sandboxiness of Wrath from Flowers. Do we have any information? How could we answer that?
It's less sandboxy and more branchy. I already talked about it. We went for a bit. We traded a bit of the Kingmaker's sandboxiness for more branching paths, and that allowed us to make paths that go much further from each other. Like every mythic path lets you really derail the story into something very different from the base story, if you could call it
considering
that.
the number of mythics and how different they are, it will be really branching for you. You can compare the game if you play a demon and an angel. They're basically two different characters.
Different characters, and I love how well, we'll see how it turns out, knock on wood, but the idea is that you even go into different subgenres. So if you go demon, you make the whole thing into a dark fantasy, and if you go Azata, you go into more light-hearted epic fantasy, and if you go trickster, you just move the whole thing into the territory of self-parody with breaking fourth walls and that.
Trickster has some awesome abilities. Maybe Nanki will talk about them a bit later, or maybe some point.
Road running, no safe import. We won't be doing that.
I want to tell this once again, as DLS Black Ghost asks, will alpha testing gameplay will made public as in having clips on YouTube, etc.? Well, unfortunately, no. But once again, we have a nice, sweet B-roll, which we'll show you a bit later here, with alpha gameplay footage.
There's an interesting question about
stick with us.
Sidora? Question: how many companions are you planning on putting in the game? What was the number, Ty? Do you remember? Or we don't have set in stone number?
I think... Does the intelligent weapon count?
I think yeah, because it's an awesome companion. I really looking forward to playing with it.
Oh, and by the way, there are questions about the token weapon. We cannot say anything about it yet because it's very early in production right now. So nothing is actually set in stone
Yeah,
about it
there
yet.
are still quite a lot of things that we're like making like right now to be able to talk about. So please,
Be patient.
Go and be
Gloomful,
patient, yeah.
the follow-up to Goblin, to the Goblin's question. Well, it's not about us, it's about the way Paizo created it in first edition. And I know, of course, you can play great characters as goblins, see not the brave from Critical Role, but that's the way they were in first edition, which we're basing our game off.
And now we have lots of questions about the intelligent weapon. We like opened the abyss with it.
Yeah, we just... there's nothing done with it.
Yeah. Also, there's a question from Jan Ferrite. Do you write in Russian and translate, or is it done in English from the start?
Oh,
That's an
it's
interesting
a lot
kitchen
of
question.
pain. We're writing in Russian, and then it's translated into English, and then it's edited again by a native speaker, and then it comes back to us, and we pull our hair out because the translation is all wrong. It is not what we meant for it to be, and we have a lot of fights, and well...
But you do write some parts in English from the start. I know that.
Yes, some of them, yes, but they go to an editor who is a native speaker too.
Of course, we're checking everything through editors.
There's also a question about from Omnius Magnari. Is there any news on modding? Also, will you eventually add the ability to worship Imperial Lords, Archdevils, Demon Lords, Racial Pantheons? About modding, there are currently no news, but we were looking at the options. We can implement this, how mod support will work, and closer to the end of a bit later, we will work something out and maybe make an update, but it's no time soon. There's a lot of work to do, not including the modding. And maybe I can answer about worshipping more deities. I think we didn't have such plans.
Okay, I'm looking into the chat, and I think there was some time anomaly because we're being asked questions about things that nobody should be able to know about yet. And to prevent a collapse of time-space, we're not going to answer these questions.
Then I will answer the question about from Bubasan Prime. Will list of archetypes be released soon, so we can start playing builds even more? No, it won't, because a lot of archetypes are still in the works. So we will release some that will be ready with time and talk about them a bit in the diaries, but we won't release them all at the same time. There's a lot of work to put into that.
Zenhast, there was a question about more professional voice artists, and I don't know what do you mean? We already work with professional voice artists.
We're working with Koch.
Well, yes, Koch, but
Yep.
we have some real professionals in our game, and I don't know how much more professional people you would like to see.
There are people that have been working a lot in gaming voiceovering.
Wow. Look, do you know who plays Hargulka?
Oh
I was really surprised to learn. Hargulka is the voice of American Dr. Robotnik.
Mm.
Yeah, I was really surprised.
And it's not Jim Carrey, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey,
We
it would be cool
were
to have Jim Carrey.
we
Yeah, that
were
would be awesome,
asked
actually.
in YouTube, will be more UI customization? I just want to ask that person to be a bit more detailed. What do you mean by more UI customization? Just to know, it's interesting. Write it in the chat.
Legit Waffles asked two interesting and legit questions. One about what feature and what thing we are most excited about our next game, we ourselves as developers and community managers, and what have been your favorite parts working on thus far. I think the second question is more for Ty.
Well, right now, like today, I'm finishing the Trickster quest, the quest, Trickster main quest line, and I had an absolute blast working with it.
We can see
it's
it by
just,
your head.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a mockery of everything I did before that. What else?
And the most exciting part for me in the next game are obviously mounted combat and mythic packs best because riding as Aeon on your some kind of lawful mount, if there will be any, would be really fun. And playing as a judge of dread, because you are the law.
Oh yeah.
For me, it's always the story because I during the development you also always see it like partly parts from here, parts from there, and while playing, you finally put it all together and see how it should be.
Man at Arms. The head does not appear in the quest line, but some 4 ears do.
Wait, real? Really?
Wait and see. It's
Da, da,
Trickster.
da, da.
That's interesting, especially what I know about some of the Trickster abilities and what he can do. Some.
Does a Trickster lean more toward chaotic good or chaotic evil?
Chaotic neutral all the way.
Yep.
He's
not evil, he's not good, he's just plain chaotic.
He can be everything.
The good question about voting for the animal race. Can we say something?
We were planning to start it late next week or maybe the week after.
The thing is that excuse me, I lost my voice with this. Right now we're working on some great activities and events connected to it. So please wait for it. It will be really, really, really soon, but we need some more time. I hope you will be amazed.
There's a fun question actually from Karamaru Crow. Does Trickster feels like playing as a Malkavian in Bloodlines? Does it?
Oh.
Though I don't think that it's so four-wall breaking, and it's.
I assume you mean specifically the game.
Yeah.
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and well, I I did take some hints from the way it worked there, but you see, Bloodlines is a great game, but as we know, it's grossly unfinished. It had a ton of planned content that just didn't make it into the game. And Malkavian is one of the ideas they have that actually get a chance to be as fleshed out as they wanted, at least partially. And yes, our idea was to have the mythic paths change the experience, kind of like Malkavian choice changes the overall experience in the game. But specifically the way Malkavian does it, you see, Malkavian is mad. For those who haven't played Bloodlines, Malkavian is an insane vampire bloodline clan, and if you choose Malkavian, the whole game changes so that you can feel that you are playing a mad character. You have alternative answers in the alternative interactions in the dialogues, and yes, we do have that. And you have some weird moments, like when like signs start talking to you. It's not quite the way Trickster works, but yeah, you could compare one thing to another, and we certainly did go for something like that, though not quite right. Because you see, unlike the Malkavian, Trickster actually can change the world by the powers.
By having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
There is an interesting
Actually,
question.
sorry, I wanted to ask one thing. Kai raised interesting thing about the writing is, and it is inspiration. Maybe you could share some things about where did you took inspiration for Ember or some other characters,
Oh,
or maybe Trickster. If you can't, it's okay, but it might be really interesting.
Well, I have already talked about Ember a lot. I
Sure.
took inspiration from the actual history of the Crusade of the Children, which is an actual part of history of Crusade, a pretty infamous one, but also pretty inspiring. I just thought that if we're doing a game about Crusades, it would have been fair not to tap into this part of actual history.
Thank you.
As for general inspiration, I actually read some of the World War One classical novels, like All Quiet on the Western Front, just to, because we were going for something really grim, and
that's really interesting source of inspiration, actually.
Well, you see, the history of Crusades in Galerion, the way they are, it has been a war that was going for 100 years already. A long, long war with no end in sight. And I thought that the history of actual First World War is a good reference to convey that feel of, well, of hopelessness and the feeling of that unending war.
so when they will start to play, they won't want to play goblins and so on, to spoil all these things.
Well, we didn't go. It's not like we went all grimdark and super serious. We still had a chance to put in some parts of hope, some parts of fun, but generally, yes, we went for a much more grim tone than we did in Kingmaker.
There is a question. I think it will be nice to clear a bit, make more clear. Will it be possible to change your mythic path in the middle of playthrough? How will it be organized? Like, will you be running between 2 or 3 of them before you finally choose the one and only?
So this is how it works. During first and second chapters, you come across different quests and events that can unlock or lock different paths for you. at the end of chapter 1, you get your mythic powers, but they're like unaligned. You're just mythic without any specific path chosen. At the end of chapter 2, you must choose one path among those you have unlocked at the moment. You will also have, you will always have at least some choice. You will never get locked into just one path, but you can expand or you can expand your choice, or you can just make it smaller. But you have to choose something. But after that, you will still have the ability to do a quest that would either move you into one of the, as we call them, secret paths. It's not like they are really secret, but they will be harder to get than the basic ones. One of them is the path of ultimate good, the dragon. Another is the path of ultimate evil, the swarm that walks. And there's also a chance to drop your mythic powers as they are and instead step on the path of the legend, which is you know, I saw the legend compared to the Doomslayer from, well, Doom. Like, the idea is that you don't want no stinking powers from either Abyss or Heaven or anything. You are already powerful as a human being, as a mortal, and that's what you're going to use to win. Like the ultimate good, ultimate evil, and ultimate humanity.
That's actually nice. There are also a question from FasterD97 about Adopt Ember, and if I recall correctly, the answer is no. And Marry the Queen. And about the Queen, I think she was part. Romance with her was one of the social goals, and it was
That's
reached,
right.
and it means that there will be romance with
That's
Queen
right.
Godfrey.
The queen
And,
is available.
Forsaken 92 asks, is this plot-related Q&A or can we ask gameplay-related questions? About gameplay and game mechanics, I think we should wait for our second guest, Inanki, game designer, and he could answer these
He
questions
will
better when
join us really soon, by the way.
Really?
Blame him. Blame him.
Or,
Then
or
I
don't.
thought we have a lot of time with Kai. He's an awesome guy, and I want more time with everyone here. So there is a question from London 9560. Will a Lich be stuck into generic evil Lich, or will we be able to do something like an Arc Lich? I don't know what Arc Lich actually is.
I don't think we have Arc Lich damage.
This is
but,
another question about alignments and how
I'm not
locked
sure
they
what
are.
exactly you mean, but there were questions about trying to be both a Lich and a good person, and I don't think you can do that. Because just being Lich includes stuff like, you know...
Unless you think...
mass human sacrifices.
Unless you think that mass human sacrifices and making undeaths is good.
Arc Lich is a good Lich, so to speak. No. If you go the Lich path, you moving into dark fantasy territory, and you're doing some really evil stuff.
Shouldn't Liches also feed human souls or overall souls to the phylactery, destroying them in the process? Or it is from another universe?
I'm not sure about the details about that.
Yeah, it would be something interesting to research. I think there were some other interesting questions. What Jan Firit asks, what are the key branching points in chapter 1 and I mean for replayability? Can we answer that? People can explore that themselves, and I think it will be much more interesting. And there definitely will be a lot of guides about that. How to get everything and at the same time.
Well, I think I can talk about just some of them. one thing that is really cool about Chapter 1. Chapter 1, the whole of it is happening inside the burning Canabras. The city that just was raided by the demons and still in ruins, and the mortals in the burning Canabras are just trying to reclaim it, because right now it's controlled by the demons. And at a certain point, there's a second wave of attack, which completely changes most of the locations. And depending on whether you come early or late, some interactions will be completely different. And it will be a choice where you go early, where you go more late. Sometimes it's better to come late, by the way. So it was a huge pain to make it work, but it was also really fun to do. To make every location in 2 different versions, and then make all the interactions between. It's like double the work because what if you came here earlier? What if you came here late? Oh, but what if you first came here earlier, then went somewhere else late that affects it, then came here back late? All these possibilities, we try to patch all of them neatly and account for all kinds of, playthroughs.
That actually adds a lot of replayability, because
Yeah.
trying to figure out what will happen if you do something differently in the next playthrough really captures my mind.
And don't forget about different builds and stuff. You try over and over again different things.
I'm really not sure how will it be even possible for me to start a game, because when I first created a character for Alpha, it took me around 4 hours.
I like this one question, like a narrative question. Will there be sex, drugs, alcohol, and rock and roll among demons?
Yes.
Well, yes, because there's at least Daron.
He contains all these things, I guess. So
Yeah, like-
if you want sex, drugs, alcohol, and rock and Galarian rock and roll, you
It's
definitely
like,
should
sex,
choose him.
It's like sex, drugs, and rock and roll personified. Really.
I like this question by Lanferit. Is it Lanferit or Ianferit?
Yeah.
Well,
easy answer.
can we follow Staunton example and join the demons? I mean, millions of cultists with slaughter can be all wrong. Well, first, yes, they can. Second, you don't want to follow Staunton example because Staunton, what he did was ultimately a failure.
You can
He-
become a demon.
But
Well-
yes, you can become a demon, and instead of following, you can lead the demonic stuff. The idea of, well, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the general idea behind the demon path is that you become a demon, and yeah, you get rid of the demonic plague in Galarian, then you close the door from the inside
And have sex, drugs,
And-
rock and roll.
and start taking over the abyss.
Then, spoilers. Then those spoilers.
Paradidigitora, will we be able to go into the world wound, or will we be just in Mendev? We won't go to Mendev at all. It will be all in the world wound.
Is Knabras in the World Wound? I thought it's in the Mendev. So we will be at least partially in Mendev, no?
Canabris is
Well,
like
yes,
a
yes,
borderland.
Yeah,
No?
it's on the border,
borderland.
and from Canabras you go all in.
That's true.
And
Why do we
maybe
need
he or she meant will we go to Abyss itself? But I guess we just had an answer.
There's also an interesting question from Rick and Dan 3 zeros. Is demon path refers to only demon or both demon and devils? If I recall correctly, they're separate?
So you well, you can't. A demon can't turn into a devil because they hate each other. You know.
Yeah.
As for there have been rumors about there being a secret devil path, and we won't talk about it now.
Because it's secret.
Yes.
You shouldn't talk about secrets. And it gives our...
No, I mean, I know that the rumor has been going around, but we have a policy of not talking about things that we are not certain about ourselves.
Yep.
Okay, guys.
Please
guys.
notice that if you actually found something that looks like a rumor, it may be something that was originally planned and got cut out, or maybe added later. Please don't follow the rumors.
Okay, guys.
Trust us.
Inanki is ready to join us. I suggest we actually show the B-roll, and while everyone will be watching, we'll reassign the scene with one more guest.
There's also a question from Yanferite. Do you read your own forum? Well, actually, yes.
Morhim, you're like not listening to me at all.
Give me a second to answer.
We'll never end this then.
Sorry.
We need to have a break for a minute, couple of minutes. But please answer, and then we'll...
yeah, we read our own forum, and our developers read our forum. They mostly don't answer, but they talk a lot on Discord, actually, in the alpha section, and in some hour. So yeah, that's it. And yeah, I gather all the feedback from the forum, and I will forward it later to our developers, so they would know what you left there. And I forward some threads even now, so they could read them. Anyway, thank you, Ty, for your time and for your awesome answers.
Thank you
for your awesome head, obviously.
You may stay with us if you want to.
Oh, sure.
If you have time.
No, you know, I think I'll pass it to Inanki.
Okay.
Can we take 5 minutes and launch B-roll for the time while we switch to Inanki?
That's the thing I was suggesting to do, right? Okay, we'll see you a bit later. And now let's watch.
Thanks, everybody. Love you.
Здрасте.
Отлично.
Как ваше ничего?
And we're back.
Hello, yep, we're back, and now with us is Inanki, our game
Hello.
designer,
Hi.
and you can thank him for most, or I think even all, the classes and archetypes, right?
Oh, you
Not
can,
really. Lots of them. I'd
you
say.
can
Not all,
ask
not nearly all of them.
all the questions you've been holding all this time.
No,
Inanki
the
the
master
master
of
of disaster.
disaster. Well,
Why?
the,
I have
that's a
heard
good
this
nickname, actually.
Hell in Anki!
Hail Inanki.
And Satagemini asks the same second we introduced Inanki about dinosaurs. What can I say about dinosaurs now?
Dinosaurs are cool. I even once had a cavalier who rode one. It was pretty fun. Okay, so let's go to other questions.
Will you implement more utility spells like Thumbstop, Simulacrum, Wish, etc.? A question from followers.
There is a big question in general with such spells because they usually need lots of. They need to have real consequences. So they need to. They automatically generate lots of content, which can be a little bit strange to do for one spell, which not all of people will ever take. So.
There's another question. I am also interested in an answer to that. If you can, obviously, I am not aware about the feats, but Jackal201 asks, will oh no, the another one. No, where is it? Ginsel asks, will be able to master the art of dual wielding shields in Wrath of the Righteous?
It's a hard question, but we actually want to. I'm not sure we will do it, but it's one of the things that
definitely want-
sometimes comes
yeah.
to our heads, and it's a pretty cool concept. Maybe not the best mechanically, but well, it's cool.
I see the question that was